Good morning and welcome to the Oakland County Megacast on this Tuesday, the first day of December 2020. I am Tyler Kieft in the studios of 89.3 WBLD, Lakes FM, and Civic Center TV. I'm joined as always by Ronnie Dahl in her home studio.
Tyler, great to talk to you on this Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday morning. See, I'm always like either behind or ahead. So we could just fast forward. Do you know why I said Tuesday afternoon? Because this show just flies by 2 hours and it's always over just like that. But today is known as Giving Tuesday.
It is.
So a lot of the nonprofits out there looking for people to help them out. This year is so important, more so than any other year, because you got to think so many of these nonprofits, their need is up, but then they've been unable to fundraise in their regular ways because of the pandemic. So I don't know if anyone's been on social media, but you'll see so many of the nonprofits, whether it's, feeding the homeless or helping the pets. There are so many great organizations out there, all looking for your donations today.
Yeah, it's a great day to help these organizations that have been helping so many people throughout the pandemic. We talked yesterday with Terry Collier from Gleaner's Food Bank about how much fundraising has become even more important to that organization this year than ever before, because their operations delivering food to people that are absolutely in need of it has more than doubled. And we've seen similar trends in so many other community organizations. We've spoken recently to the United Way. We spoke to Paws for Life Animal Rescue as well. And all these organizations are in great need of fundraising more than anything in 2020 as they try to continue their services while also, much like our small business community and much like our individuals in the economy with the state that we're in right now during this pandemic, are so hard hit for cash to be able to continue these services that are expensive in normal times and expensive and even more vital now than they normally are.
Yeah, so let's just call it a terrific Tuesday.
Yes.
Let's make it a terrific Tuesday. Help out our nonprofits by helping them and giving, even if it's $1, $5, $10, it all starts to add up. And it can help change a life immensely, even if you're struggling during this time as well. Winter weather advisory should be coming to an end here, Tyler. I will say, I was like, why do we have a winter weather advisory? We got like maybe a couple inches of snow, but it is December. Today's December 1st. Shouldn't we have snow in Michigan?
We should. And I think the reason for the winter weather advisory is just to make sure that everybody is driving extra cautiously today, because much like the first rain of the spring, the first snow of the winter brings out everybody's inability to drive on the roads. People still speed and still jumping out. People are spinning out left and right. I already have seen a couple of cars go off the road on the way in. But hey, we have great police and fire departments here in our local area that respond really quickly. And by the time we got down the road, I saw a police officer pull up to one of them as I was pulling into the office here today. So everybody hard at work on Michigan's roads on this first snow. Maybe that's why we have a winter weather advisory, just to get people prepared to maybe drive a little bit carefully, considering there's slippery, icy road conditions.
It's like everyone forgets from the last snowfall to now. They forget how to drive in snow.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy because we do this every single year. We should at least remember that, hey, snow's a little bit different than just a regular rainfall. Conditions are still going to be slippery, but they're going to be icy. You're going to have all that gunk and dirt flying up within snow that's going to be on your windshield, and it's going to make it a little tougher to see. So just got to be a little more prepared when you're going out on our roads.
So I don't know if you happen to follow the Michigan State Police or the Troy Police Department on Twitter, on social media. They have some of the best memes that they put out for driving in these conditions. So anyone out there who hasn't been on their social media, follow them. If anything, they do offer a little bit of humor behind some of their posts.
Yeah, I do happen to follow the Michigan State Police. They do have a very entertaining Twitter for a police department, yes.
So today is December 1st. The good thing, we are in the last month of 2020. I think so many people are ready to say goodbye to this year. It's not that COVID's going away in 2021, but at least we will have a vaccine that's looking very promising. But Tyler, I was kind of sad to see one of our first headlines. Have you ever participated in the Moonbeams for Sweet Dreams at Beaumont Hospital?
I have not, no.
Oh, it is one of the sweetest events. And we typically do it every year. It started back in 2017, but now because of the pandemic, they're going to be going virtual. So at least they're trying something to keep it going. But I can tell you, it's not going to be the same. So our first headline of the day, Beaumont Hospital has held Moonbeams for Sweet Dreams every December since 2017. And this year, the event will be different due to the pandemic. The event was started to help fight the feeling of isolation children felt while stuck inside a hospital during the holidays. They gave the patients flashlights to wave out their windows for 5 minutes each night, hoping that community members would come with flashlights and wave back. Boy, did they come out in force. This event has grown crazy over the past few years. Yes. So the hospital said it's not safe, obviously for people to gather outside the hospital. So instead, they are going to be turning the 4th annual Moonbeams for Sweet Dreams event into a virtual experience. So it starts tonight, December 1st, and it's going to be running through the 31st. Community members are asked to upload videos and photos to Beaumont's website. And then you'll be asked to add a brief description, and your submission can then be added to a gallery and available to share on the hospital social media. Beaumont will compile all the videos and the photos to create a video that will be shared with the patients via social media. It is one of the sweetest events. I think we did it the very first year, small crowd. By last year, in just the 3 short years that it had been happening, it had grown crazy. Like you had law enforcement agencies, police departments, ambulances, everyone would come with their big fire trucks, their big lights. It got so popular that some of the suburbs, like way up north, Holly, places like that, they were actually renting buses and bringing people down to participate. And the whole thing only lasts for, like 10 minutes. But it really is a sweet, sweet event. So it's going to be virtual this year, Tyler. So maybe you can do a video with your 2 cats.
Yeah, maybe I should. Maybe I should get my 2 cats involved this year. They seem to light up the room and occasionally make some silly mischief that would maybe bring some humor into a time that we don't really have a whole lot of. So maybe I should participate. It's a good idea.
Right. You know what? I think you should put little Santa Claus hats on your cats.
I don't know. They don't respond all too well to collars. I don't know how much they respond well to a hat. They probably just flail their head around until they bang it on something, and then that's a whole nother problem.
Well, you're a very creative person.
I am.
And you have editing skills. So I'm sure you could come up with a great video, because they are encouraging people. Make it a little bit different this year. Have some fun with it. Maybe shoot it outside in front of your own holiday lights. People are pretty creative, though. So I'm looking forward to those videos. But that starts today, December 1st, Moonbeams for Sweet Dreams. Over at Beaumont Hospital. It usually takes place in Royal Oak. Also making headlines on CivicCenterTV.com, $10 million grant fund to help small businesses in Michigan. State officials Monday announced that new grant program to help with the small businesses that continue to be impacted by the pandemic. The Pure Michigan Small Business Relief Initiative was approved Monday afternoon by the Michigan Strategic Fund. And the move is going to assist 700 or more small businesses and hospitality businesses or recreational facilities as well. Any of these small businesses impacted by the long-term closures or the lower capacity limitations during the pandemic, and also the recent set of restrictions that went into place in November. The plan calls for $10 million in grants of up to $15,000 to be distributed to businesses and the troubled sectors with 2 to 50 employees. and revenue of at least $25,000. So another $1 million is going to be allowed for the administrative fees. I think that's pretty high, but funding is coming through the community development block grants provided to Michigan from the Federal CARES Act. It represents some of the state's last dollars available through that $2 trillion nationwide plan. So if you are a small business, keep in mind this is not just restaurants, movie theaters that have been impacted, but that would be, I think to qualify, it have to be more of those small independent theaters, also theaters, the plays, places such as that, the ice skating rinks, all of these smaller businesses, they can apply, and it should be up and available for people to apply starting this week. And hopefully relief is going to be coming by December 15th. From what has happened in the past, though, business owners really need to jump on this as soon as it is open, because this money can go quickly. You think, 10 million, it sounds like a lot of money. But when you think about the thousands and thousands and thousands of small businesses in the state of Michigan, that money is not going to go far enough.
No, and these businesses need this money now. They've needed this relief for a long time, and it hasn't come to them. And it doesn't look like anytime soon there's going to be more relief coming from the federal government. So this is one of those last resort, last little bits of money that they can possibly pick up to continue their business, to continue to pay their employees, to not have to shut down their business or end their business and liquefy their assets. And so this is really that last step, but there's going to be so many businesses. Think about it, these small restaurants, these mom and pop shops, these small businesses that have had to do an excessive amount of layoffs and furloughs in order to just stay operational. This is going to be their last ditch effort to keep their employees employed, to keep their doors open. And there's going to be a lot of businesses, especially right now, and especially if this 3-week pause continues on, and there's a pretty solid likelihood that it may. That's going to be a tough line to stand in, especially when $10 million for as many small businesses as we have in Michigan, and as many that are struggling financially right now, it's not going to go all that long of a way.
Not at all. Not at all. Hey, Tyler, I don't know. One of the things that I notice, you're constantly getting spam and emails during COVID-19 about so many of these fake scams. And they're getting pretty good. We had the lady on from the Better Business Bureau a couple weeks ago, and some of these scams are really, really good. Well, now the feds are preparing for the COVID-19 scams as the vaccine approaches approval. So expect to start to see a new round of scams. So the coronavirus vaccine inching toward approval in the U.S. is desperately anticipated by weary Americans longing for a path back to normal life. Will we ever get there? But criminals are waiting too, ready to use that desperation to their advantage, federal investigators say. Homeland Security investigators are working with Pfizer, Moderna, and dozens of other drug companies racing to complete and distribute the vaccine and treatments for the virus. The goal, to prepare for the scams that are coming, especially after the mess of criminal activity this year with phony PPE equipment, false cures, and extortion schemes. So Homeland Security investigations started using its 7,000 agents in tandem with Border Patrol, the FDA, FBI officials to investigate the scams, seize phony products, and arrest hundreds of people. The agency has already analyzed more than 70,900 websites. That number is crazy to me, suspected as being involved in some type of COVID-19 fraud. Millions of fake or unapproved personal protection equipment products and antiviral pharmaceuticals were seized. Homeland Security investigations made more than 1,600 seizures of products worth more than $27 million and made more than 185 arrests. I saw there was something on Facebook where this guy one time ordered toilet paper online and got it like 6 months later. And then it came in, it was like these little, basically like fake little tiny rolls of toilet paper. So you really have to be careful about what you're ordering online. Pay attention, follow the rules. Don't just click on a link as well. You want to go to an actual company and their website directly. But the feds are already anticipating there are going to be a lot of scams as the vaccine nears approval.
Yeah, and it's like when we talked to the person from the Better Business Bureau in our region recently. Know who you're buying from. Know who you're looking, whose shops you're looking at online before you go. If you don't recognize a company in their link, or it looks like it may not be that actual company, or you're just confused with whether or not that is that company's actual website, don't click on that link. Research that company's website on Google and find a reliable link that could take you to that actual company's website. And then if you don't see that deal there, you know it's a scam. I've been getting a lot of these emails too lately, a lot of spam emails that revolve around Amazon gift cards. I got an email last week that said, hey, here's a free $100 Amazon gift card for you. It was, of course, in my spam folder, and I knew it was a scam right away. It was a phishing scam, and so I was so grateful for that $100 Amazon gift card that I copied the text from in that email and I reported it to the Federal Trade Commission, just to be nice.
See, there you go, Tyler, taking the time instead of just deleting it. Taking the time to report it. So you could be helping out someone else. So just to let everyone know, speaking of websites, one website that is very legitimate, civiccentertv.com. If you go to our website, you can click on coronavirus. That's where we put the daily headlines each and every morning before we head in to the studio and start the workday. Also, we put direct links at the top of the page to make it easy for you too, if you want to follow along with the CDC recommendations and some of the changes that they're making, or the state of Michigan, Oakland County, and our local communities. We put all that information at the top of the page. Just click directly on the link. So a lot of good information for you over on civiccentertv.com. No phishing allowed if you do log on to our site. We have a lot to get to on this terrific Tuesday, as we are going to be calling it on the Oakland County Megacast. We will be speaking to the Michigan DNR, the Parks and Recs Department. We are moving into the winter months. What is going to be changing for them? Also, we'll be speaking with Nate Adams. He's the film critic. Boy, these movie theaters, just when they get up and running, they're shut down again. It'll be interesting to see what is going to be the long-term impact of that. But of course, the big movie everyone was waiting for to come out in the movie theaters, Wonder Woman. What's going to be happening with that? But we'll be speaking with Nate Adams coming up around 10:30. We'll also have on Stacey Renee. She's our motivational speaker. Seasonal depression is very real this time of year. We'll be talking to her. She'll give us some tips on how to, reset your mind if you are going down that depression tunnel. She'll help us with that. I'll be excited to speak with Andy Levin in the 11 o'clock hour. He, of course, is the U.S. representative for the 9th Congressional District. His name is being tossed around right now as part of the Biden team.
Yes.
What could happen with him? So, but a lot to talk to with him, especially during the Biden transition. What could this mean for the vaccine distribution? But on top of that, it was so many things going on. COVID-19 relief. Can they actually work together, our elected leaders in D.C., to try to get some type of financial relief to the families and the businesses that need it? And then we will round out the show today speaking with Elizabeth Atkins. She's of Two Sisters Writing and Publishing. A lot of people right now, not only reading books, but there are people that always wanted to write a book. If you're thinking about it, this could actually be the time to do it. And we'll be speaking with Elizabeth coming up again in the 11 o'clock hour. But Tyler and I are going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Hello. And it,
On the Tuesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast, for those that may be tuning in for the very first time, we want to kind of give you a little bit of background to this show. It actually started with Tyler and Dave Scott way back in March when the pandemic first started and first broke out. And the goal of this show is to be able to speak with some of our newsmakers, decision makers, and people throughout the community as we all continue to navigate COVID-19. The great thing about this show, Tyler, is what we are able to do that mainstream media maybe is not able to do, is to offer some of these interviews in a long form context. Typically, we are able to speak with our guests for 15 to 20 minutes. That allows us to ask them the questions that so many people in the community are also asking. But on top of that, especially when we speak with business leaders or business owners, and we also try to leave what's a positive note, what's one of the good things that's come out of this pandemic and how they are handling that. So that is kind of the goal behind the Oakland County Megacast. Tyler and I are in the studio while I'm working from home for the next couple of weeks, but we are here from 10 a.m. until noon. We are working to get our first guest on the air with us, but just as a reminder, you can catch us 10 a.m. to noon, Civic Center TV, civiccentertv.com, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. If you do have cable, check us out, Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. If you're out driving around in your car, you can also catch us on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And then today, we are also live streaming today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast on my journalist Facebook page, Ronnie Dahl. You can check that out, go over and like that. And so that is really the goal behind this show. Tyler, I will say, every day I learn something new because we have so many different guests from so many different walks of Michigan to help us all navigate this pandemic.
Yeah, we've really been able to talk to a whole lot of different people about how they have helped themselves, their businesses, their employees, other people in the community, and just the community at large through this pandemic. It's been a community effort, and we continue to learn new ways to help each other as we continue to have massive struggles through this pandemic.
Well, one person that we have talked to before, but we are bringing back on the show, is Ron Olson. He is the chief for the Parks and Recreation Division for the Michigan DNR. Thank you for being with us again, Ron. How are you?
Good. Thank you much for taking the time to let me join your show.
It's always great having you. You are such an outdoors person. For those in the state of Michigan, the outdoors has really been a salvation for so many people.
Yes. Yeah, we've seen unprecedented amounts of visitation all since spring. We had very large numbers all the way through the summer. And in fact, we were up 25% beyond that. That was on average at just about every park. And the camping, lodging, and just day use visitation was very, very strong all the way around.
And so with that, going into the winter months, obviously Michigan is beautiful and we had an amazing summer. It was incredible. But we are going into the winter months. How will things change for you and your team members as winter sets in?
Well, we still have, there's some parks are no longer offer camping opportunities, but we have many places that do. We have cabins and different things. Plus, we have rustic campgrounds in the state forest that we manage. There's 134 areas there. And if you can get through with the snow and that kind of stuff, depending on where it is, there's a lot of opportunities for that aspect of recreation. But then we have, various, now with the emergence of fat biking, there's lots of people that are mountain bikers that switch over, and we have partnered with clubs that groom trails as well as cross-country trails. We have many locations where they're groomed trails when the snow is sufficient. And then our snowmobile program kicks off today, as a matter of fact, pending the depth of snow. Right now, we talked to the staff in the UP, and the snow is not that prolific yet, but we suspect that will change here over the next few weeks. So there's a lot of opportunities to get out and go hiking and do things, but we expect this winter to be every bit as robust as the rest of the summer has been, because people really want to get out, and getting outdoors is a good, safe option for people. You can spread out, and social distancing is not an issue. We just ask people to be prepared, bring their cleaning devices and when they go indoors. And now most of them are vault toilets, so they're not, flush toilets, that they bring sanitizers and their masks and things like that. But other than that, being outside and being patient, spreading out is really all it takes.
Yeah, and like you said, you anticipate there's going to be a larger crowd. Do you think part of that is because people just aren't traveling right now, so they're staying closer to home and staying closer to Michigan?
Yeah, that's true. Although there are people that have, because of teleworking and things like that have dwellings, cabins or camps or something elsewhere in the state. Some are just stay there and they operate. So I think you'll see people, some of those dwellings will remain in use, as opposed to the fact that typically people would close them up and go back home. So I think that the use dynamics, because of that, will change a lot for those that have that opportunity. But I do think, though, that based on what we've seen this summer, there'll still be people questing to go to see the frozen falls at Tequaman and things like that are pretty unique for various kinds of trips. So we expect to see a kind of a continuing upsurge in visitation.
Yeah, that is definitely on my bucket list to see the falls. I haven't been there yet. How does it work with some of the cabins? Do you rent them online? What is that like, and how often do you anticipate you're going to book up early?
Well, we have, I'll give you an example at Wilderness State Park. It's a very popular venue, and if people are interested, they need to plan ahead and go online to our reservation system, and you can prompt that on, just going Michigan DNR, and that'll take you to the web page, and you can go to reservations. And but those are very popular. People ski between them and things like that. And but they're scattered throughout the state, and it's a different experience. All the way up to the Porcupine Mountains, we do have yurts as well as cabins up there, and it's a different experience because of the fact it's a much bigger landscape, and but you have to be prepared and bring, be prepared with the right, your clothing and boots and things like that.
Well, does that kind of concern you as well, that you'll get a lot of people that aren't experienced with the outdoors coming up and not taking the needed safety precautions?
Yes. In fact, interesting you mentioned that, is last summer we had more backcountry or wilderness rescues at the Porcupine Mountains than we ever had ever. And we believe that a lot of the folks that were so eager to get out that they went and heard about that place and went hiking and didn't have the proper kinds of things and went out and got turned around and got lost. And certainly up in places like that, cell phones don't always work. And so consequently, you need to have backups like compasses and kind of old school devices, or a device that is a GPS based type of situation where you can navigate yourself, or the batteries wear out and you're not prepared for that. So we expect people to make sure they are prepared and have backup systems, because things like that, especially in the wintertime when it gets cold, you want to, just have that backup plan.
Ron Olson with us on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the chief for the Parks and Recreation Division with the Michigan DNR. Piggybacking off of that topic and that conversation, Ron, what are the types of old school safety devices people should pack if they are going to be coming to one of our state parks and taking advantage of the winter months?
Well, I think first of all, it starts with clothing. I think having, the proper layering of clothing and avoiding, cotton kinds of things and the typical kind of hooded sweatshirts and things like that might seem okay, but once they get damp and wet, it can really go backwards. So layering up and you having fabric next to your skin that wicks the sweat away from yourself is one thing. Having layered gloves and having spares that you could do in case you get something wet. You could put them in a little pack and then have way to exchange. Particularly your hands and feet are very important, and then a lot of heat escapes through your head. So having a decent couple of hats is not a bad idea as well. And then certainly having a hydration, even though you might think in the winter time that you don't need to hydrate, though that's, you do expel a lot more energy in the wintertime. And so having a way to drink fluids and being prepared, and also, to eat before you go, and kind of just general things like that, so you don't get boxed in, and then you certainly can bring, energy bars and things like that, depending on how far you go. But, like I said, trying to keep your feet dry, and that means that having the right boots as well that are comfortable and that are either Gore-Tex or some other type of fabric that would repel moisture.
Ron Olson with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. It's so much better to overpack and bring those things just in case you do need them. It's so sad this time of year going into the winter months, we always hear about the tragic accidents involving snowmobilers. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and the safety measures with snowmobiling?
Right. We call it Ride Right, and it's a campaign that we've partnered with the some 80 snowmobile clubs in the state. One of the primary causes of serious accidents and even deaths on snowmobile, probably 75 to 80% of them are alcohol related, and because people stop over or whatever and tip a few and then take off on their snowmobile, and many of these units can go very fast, and you get carried away, and most of them go around a turn and they misjudge the turn and go off and hit a tree or something. So we're asking people to ride right, to respect that just like you would in a automobile, and not drive while you're under the influence, for your safety as well as others, because the trails aren't that wide and you don't want to certainly run into anybody. But just to anticipate, we do have confidence markers on the trails to keep you, so you can keep track of where you are and to stay within the groomed tracks. But we know a popular activity now is to do free riding and go up and down hillsides and on ungroomed snowpack. And I would suggest that if you're not skilled at that sort of thing, to probably not to do that, or to take it very slow and to learn about that, because you can tip over very easily and things like that. So, but I think in the main, there's plenty of information out there for snowmobilers. There's a whole snowmobile safety book, as well as ORVs, I might add, to pay attention. And again, like I said on the others, be prepared. And especially if it's your first time out, is to take it easy and get used to things and kind of work into it rather than going full blast right off the bat, which is sometimes people's enthusiasm gets ahead of their kind of stability in terms of getting their bearings, if you will, to get things going in the right direction.
Ron, quickly before we let you go, when ice fishing becomes such a popular sport here in the state of Michigan as the winter months start to set in, snowmobiling out on the lakes as well, when do you know the ice is safe?
Well, that's a good question. I think, first of all, you need to know the body of water, because even if you have substantial 3 to 5 inches, 6 inches of ice, sometimes the currents and the way the water works in the lake can be deceiving. So first of all is to do your research and make sure you understand and know that. And if you're not sure, I'd go and drill a hole and make sure that you're aware of that. There are plenty of charts that say that, and then there's good ice and not good ice and things like that. So I would say to take a little time to learn about some of those basic safety precautions. And I would say, when in doubt, don't do it, because you're sinking a snowmobile in a lake or going through the ice is a life-threatening experience, and it's not worth taking a chance. So most of the people that, and when I've done it, you kind of look around and see what other people are doing, and you try to talk to the local people, either at bait shops or otherwise, and you'll find out very quickly what's going on in that regard. But it's always better to be safe than sorry.
Good words to lead with. Ron Olson, thank you so much for taking time out of your Tuesday to be with us here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Thank you very much, and hope everybody has a fun, enjoyable winter outdoors.
Absolutely. Take advantage of what is in our backyard, but be safe while you're doing it. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we'll be speaking with Nate Adams. He is a very well-known film critic in the area. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the medical director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
One thing so many of us have been doing during the COVID crisis and this pandemic is binge watching so many various TV shows on Netflix or Hulu, whichever one you have. But the movies have definitely taken a hit during this pandemic. Let's bring in Nate Adams. He's the film critic. Great to have you with us. The last time we had you on, the movie theaters were about to reopen. They reopened and now they're shut down again.
We were open, I think, for 40 days. The theaters opened back up in October. It was like October 13th, and then they closed just after November. So they were open for just a little bit over a month. I don't know necessarily if it was going to have them open because, some theaters across the country were already open. And I'm glad Michigan theaters got the chance, like our local places, like the Imagines and the MGRs. And I'm glad that they had the chance to open the doors and kind of see people and, try and generate some revenue. But realistically, and I was talking to some of people at my local theater, and they were saying that they were like shutting off movies because people just weren't coming in. And so like the attendance was down. And so I feel like they were maybe just breaking even, if that. It was more or less just kind of staying open to keep people interested in the movie going experience best they could. But this past weekend, we actually got some encouraging box office numbers. The Croods: A New Age, which was a sequel to DreamWorks Animation's big film from 2013, that movie made $500 million worldwide. I don't think this one's going to come close to that. But over the 5-day holiday stretch, it made $15 million. Now, listen, I know $15 million, you look at that, it's like, well, last year Frozen 2 made $181 million. I know that's only a fraction of that number, but it's an encouraging sign that if studios are weighing the option of maybe releasing some movies in this tough landscape, they can look to the Croods, which had a decent marketing spend. It was all over like NFL football games, and you saw it on TV. So they put money into it, and it actually made a decent chunk of money, considering that only, I think, 50 to 60% of movie theaters across the country are open. So that is encouraging.
But do you think the long-term impact is going to be our movie-going experience is going to change from here on out? Are we still going to go to the theater to see the big blockbuster hit?
I think so. I think when the pandemic's over, I know vaccines are coming and it's going to take some time for that to get administered. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I do think as soon as the dust settles and we can go back into public places, I think movie theaters are going to have a huge bounce back, especially as studios have held off some of their bigger releases like Top Gun Maverick, A Quiet Place 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Disney's Jungle Cruise with Dwayne Johnson. Those studios made the choice to hold that product for next summer. Basically, everything got shifted a year. Now, I will say this. Recently, we just saw Wonder Woman 1984 is going to opt for a day-and-date release, which means it's going to release in theaters that are open and also debuted on HBO Max, which is Warner Brothers' streaming service. For right now, that works. For the time being, I think we have to give people that option. If you want to go see a movie in theaters, you have the option to do that. If you want to see it at home where you feel safe, that is what you can do. Eventually, though, if it gets to like May or June next summer, which this is very, very possible because I think this past summer we said that, everything will be back to normal by August or September. We kept pushing it. If it gets to next summer and it's May and we're still in this thing, studios are going to start having to make decisions. So Marvel's going to have to make a decision with Black Widow, same thing that DC had to make a decision with Wonder Woman 1984. The big reason Wonder Woman is not waiting and didn't shift to next summer is because the film was made in 2018. The film was made and has been done for almost a year and a half. Eventually, product goes stale. Eventually, you have to start making a decision with your investment. And so if we get to next summer, you're going to probably Black Widow will start going to streaming, Top Gun Maverick, all those things are going to have to start making decisions. I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't. I want to go back into a movie theater. But for right now, that's where we're at.
Well, movies are important, but I wonder too, how is this going to change the content that is created? Because they're not cheap.
No, they're not cheap. And we're actually already starting to see a shift with that. So, for example, next week, Netflix is debuting a glitzy musical, The Prom, which has a crazy cast. It's got Meryl Streep, Andrew Rannells, James Corden, Keegan-Michael Key, Big stuff. And then a couple weeks after that, you have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which was produced by Denzel Washington, and it has Viola Davis, and it also has Chadwick Boseman's final on-screen role, which I've seen, and it is earth-shattering, and I think that is going to be big hit. There are options. So, and that's the thing, streamers are investing more and more in product, but also they're picking up things that the studios are leaving behind. For example, The Trial of the Chicago 7 dropped earlier this year on Netflix. That was originally going to be a Paramount Pictures release that was going to debut in theaters. Same with The Happiest Season, which just dropped on Hulu last week, which I think became Hulu's biggest watched movie of all time. That was originally going to be a Sony's Pictures release, and instead Sony decided to sell it to Hulu because they wanted to get these out to as wide an audience as possible. But Netflix has deep pockets. Disney announced that they're readjusting their entire framework and their strategy. They're going to devote an entire division to streaming, like Disney Plus. They know that this is going to be their future. Same, Netflix saw the writing on the wall 3 or 4 years ago. That's why they started investing in their own originals, because they knew eventually everybody was going to start catching up. Peacock just dropped their Saved by the Bell reboot. All these studios and these streamers are flooded with money. And that's why you're seeing Soul is going to Disney Plus on Christmas Day. And Wonder Woman, like I said, is going to HBO Max, because they need to boost those subscribers, because they know that this is where the future is headed.
So, too, thinking about that, because Netflix, I just got the notice, it's going up. Your monthly subscription is going up, I think $1, something of that nature. But with that, there are so many streaming services out there. What's going to be the impact of this on the cable industry? It's cable going away. And because now so many people are just going to do the subscription-based streaming options.
Yeah, we're already starting to see that too. I think cable, what do they call it, cable cord cutting, I think has gone down. Like cable subscriptions, I think 20% year to date. The thing that will keep cable alive, and this is the only reason that I kind of keep a cable package, because it's nice to have your local channels so you can watch your local news, and I know people can get a digital antenna and stuff and do that, and that's fine. But also live sports is a big thing. That's a deal breaker for people. And as of right now, live sports has not found a way to transition into the streaming game. There is rumors in the industry that ESPN, Disney, like I said, with their shifting of their streaming landscape, is going to maybe purchase NFL rights. Because those deals are ending in a couple years, that NFL eventually could transition to a streaming only platform. I think that's a long shot, because I think the cable deals are too lucrative. But yeah, you're right. It is already impacting cable. A lot of people are just like, yeah, I don't need it because, and I don't know about you, I've been channel surfing before, and 9 times out of 10, it's like, well, there's nothing really on. There's nothing here for me to watch, so I'm just going to turn on streaming. You do have outliers. I know I gave up on The Walking Dead like 3 seasons ago because it just kept going and going and going. But that is still a big draw on TV for some people. And I know the Kevin Costner show Yellowstone on Paramount Network is a huge ratings draw. So you are seeing these outliers of cable programming that are outperforming streaming services, but it is very few and far between.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I had appointment television where it was Friends was on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. You knew, and you rearranged your calendar to get home to watch it.
And now you have that with streaming. Like, I know I set aside Friday night. It's like, oh, The Mandalorian is tonight. It's like, I got to watch Mandalorian. Same thing. I watch a lot of HBO. I think HBO Max is a great service because I watch all of their shows. And they have a great movie library too. And so like that becomes appointment viewing. But again, that's not on cable, right? I'm not turning that on cable. I'm turning on my Apple TV every Sunday night. And I'm like, okay, The Undoing's on tonight. I got to watch that.
Yeah. And on top of that, because a lot of this has to do with the television you have as well. I know if you buy a new one right now, they're all pretty much smart TVs. Did you take advantage of Black Friday?
I did. Yes. I didn't have it was too good of a deal to pass up, and I needed a new TV. And my girlfriend was gone for the weekend, so I was like, no, I just won't tell her. And she comes home and sees this new big TV in the theater.
Some of these TVs, though, we were in Costco, I think it was like 70 inches. I'm like, it's an entire wall.
Yes. And that's, people are upgrading like I did, because we're still in this, looks like, for another couple months. And I want, you want to make it's not the same as the cinema experience, the movie-going experience, obviously, but people want to have that, that feeling. And that's where streaming is becoming a big player, because a lot of people are going to say eventually, aside from the big budget movies like the Black Widows, the Avengers that you have to go see in a movie theater, they're just like, well, I can wait for this to come to Redbox, or I can wait for it to come on streaming and on demand. Especially with Universal. Universal just struck that historic deal with Cinemark theaters and AMC theaters. So in 17 days, their films are now going to be available on video on demand. This has been quite a cause of controversy because for forever, for the longest of times, it has been 90 days was the window, 75 days for digital releases. It's because they were afraid that if you released a film too quickly at home, people would not go to the theaters to see them. But now that's why you're seeing Universal like The Croods and Let 'Em Go, the Kevin Costner, Diane Lane drama, and Come Play, which is a horror film. Universal has had the top movie at the box office for 4 or 5 weeks because of that deal that they struck, because in 3 weeks, they can have it at home available for people to watch and rent. It's a $20 rental premium fee, but how much does it cost to take a family of 5 to go see The Croods New Age in theaters versus let's just rent it at home in 2 weeks for $20? I mean, it pales in comparison.
Yeah, I know, but there's still, if I can pay $20 to go to the theater, I'm getting that experience of seeing it on
absolutely
the big screen. It's the audio that makes so much of a difference.
Correct. And obviously people don't have, some people do have their screening rooms, like Dolby Atmos, ear-shattering sounds and, but for right now you have to kind of just, go with the flow almost.
So what do you think is going to be the long-term impact on the industry as a whole? Because what we're not really talking about is the cost of making some of these movies and these TV shows. I would imagine if they're trying to film during a pandemic, the cost is going up.
Yeah, so only the bigger movies are the ones that are kind of to navigating this landscape right now. So stuff is in production and stuff is being filmed, but you have to have almost a task force designated to these new COVID restrictions. And so you're kind of seeing it now. But for example, the Jurassic World sequel that is coming out next summer is probably the largest example. They spent over $10 million in COVID-19 precautions. They housed everybody that was making a film in different bubble sections. They rented out huge hotels and they kept the cast in one section and they cast the crew in another. These people were there for 4 or 5 months. They couldn't leave. That's all they were doing. They couldn't leave. And that's right now how people are making it work. But again, some of these smaller scale films or the people that aren't making films for Netflix, they don't have the luxury of, $9 extra million in their budget to make these COVID restrictions possible. So eventually, and right now we're seeing a steady stream of product. Maybe in a couple months, we don't see that consistent stream. I know there's a lot of things on the horizon. The good news is a lot of films are made about, a year or two in advance. Like you said, Wonder Woman 1984 was made in 2018. So a lot of these films are still in the can and ready to go. And the good thing about movies being delayed is that they will come out eventually and that they are finished. So in the long term, you might see less content, but stuff is still happening, stuff is still getting made, and I guess for right now we'll just have to take it for what it is.
So for people that actually work in the industry, actors, actresses, the camera crew, there are so many people that actually make a TV show or a movie happen. What does this industry look like for them?
Well, a lot of it too, you're seeing set photos leak of things and people are wearing masks behind the scenes, they're social distancing. Like I said, only the essential crew members, I think, only ever come around like the main cast, because obviously the cast isn't wearing masks and they're not doing this, but they're getting tested around the clock. And for the foreseeable future, I think that's what it's going to look like. You're going to show up to work and they're going to give you a test. What kind of test that is, I don't know. I know there's a couple different tests out there. And as soon as you come back positive, they have to be isolated. So it's a really risk factor because you're coming into work every day, and some of us have the luxury of working from home. They do not. They're going on set, and that's where these precautions are in place. Thankfully, they have unions and guilds that have these things negotiated in case they do get sick and they have to go home. They're still collecting a paycheck, which obviously that is good. Some people aren't so lucky. That's what it's looking like for now. And a lot of these folks are having to ask themselves, like, well, do I need to work? Obviously, you need to work. You got to put food on the table. So they're really out there, putting their stuff on the line. The industry that has it on lock, obviously, is the animation industry. The people that make Family Guy and Bob's Burgers and South Park, they obviously have it made because they can work from home. They installed all their animators and their crew members. They all have these new per diem to go out and get all the equipment they needed. And I think actually when this pandemic is over, I don't know if some of these places are actually going to go back to working in a studio. I think they see, wow, this is more cost efficient. I'm having all these people work from home, and we're also risking spreading out disease. So I think that'll be a long-term thing too. Some of these people that work in certain departments are going to actually permanently be working from home because it's cheaper for the studios.
So one of the things I will say, I was excited for movie theaters to reopen, but I didn't go once I did because there was nothing worth seeing, in my opinion, for that extra fee of going to a movie theater. And I felt like the movie industry didn't do a good enough job of doing a big PR campaign like restaurants and small businesses to try to get people to go to the movie theaters. The one movie I was looking forward to seeing is Wonder Woman. That to me is a movie that has to be seen in the theater.
Yeah, and you're going to still have that option, right, on Christmas Day. And for me, too, if it comes around, I might try, and if I can go into my local theater and support them if they're showing it, I might, instead of opting to watch it at home. I guess it just depends what kind of state we're in, and, 25 days, it's already December. And so we'll see where we are at the end of the month, but I'll probably more than likely be watching it at home, as a bummer as that is, but, my job, requires me to see these films and update them and review them, so I don't, we don't get to pick and choose. I'm not going to lie. I have been enjoying the convenience of getting these things at home, but you're right. There's nothing that beats going to see like a big budgeted blockbuster on the big screen. And so there was the Cinema Safe initiative as far as trying to get people back in the theaters, but you're right. It wasn't widely publicized. You would only see these targeted ads if they knew you were part of the movie-going population, a heavy moviegoer like myself, or if you were following their Facebook and their Twitter handles. They were promoting the heck out of it if you went on their page, but you're right. They didn't reach out broader enough, and I think that was the issue, because we had to send a message that it was okay to come back into a movie theater. I did go into a movie theater about once or twice when they reopened back up, and I was impressed at the safety precautions that the theaters were taking, and I did feel very safe, and it did feel clean and sanitary, but it was a combination of that lack of message to the consumer plus the lack of product. I'm as much as I liked Tenet, you can't survive off one big blockbuster for 3 or 4 months, and I think that was Warner Brothers took a risk. They were like, we released this movie. I don't know if it was the right movie to release at that time. I think if they would have released Wonder Woman in 1984, might have been a better example, because that is a big, broader, wide appealing film, as opposed to Tenet, which is a very confusing Christopher Nolan blockbuster. Like I said, I liked it, but it's not a film that can sustain theaters for 4 or 5 months. And then, War with Grandpa came out, that Robert De Niro family comedy, which wasn't very good, but it was something. Theaters a lot of the big studios were just kind of saving their movies either for when theaters could open, or they were selling them on streaming because it just wasn't worth the risk.
Nate Adams with us from theonlycritic.com. He's also a Rotten Tomatoes film critic in the Detroit area, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And Nate, we talk about what can potentially be a draw to the theaters, but also we've talked a lot about how these streaming services are becoming more and more powerful as time goes on, especially the big hitters like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime that are bringing in some of these movies that are going straight to streaming, or will be going straight to streaming if theaters remain closed. On the other side of that coin, if theaters do reopen and streaming continues to have this momentum, because this momentum's not going away even if theaters reopen, what, if anything, have you heard or are you aware of that theaters are going to be doing to try to attract people back in? Of course, they're going to need to have those big hits, those blockbuster films to attract people there. But is there anything else that they are doing or planning on doing as an attempt to try to be competitive with these services that allow people to see a lot of these same productions from the comfort of their own home?
So the biggest thing that I've seen, so Cinemark started doing it when they reopened up. They let people rent private movie theaters, so that way people could feel comfortable and safe. I did this to watch Tenet with my friends. There was about we got about 10 of us, 15 of us together. We pooled our money and we all went in, and it was cheaper than actually buying a movie ticket. And then it was safe because we could spread out in our own movie theater and not have to worry about, we were in a well-ventilated space and we spread out. So that was a big draw because, and I know those have been really, really popular because I remember for a couple weeks, if you went on Cinemark's website, all their private screenings were sold out. Like, you couldn't get one, and they were giving them away like crazy. And then if you noticed, AMC theaters started following that route, and MJR started following that route. And that has been I think the biggest thing, because people are afraid to go back into a movie theater because of their own risk and their safety and their health. And so I think the idea of renting your own private movie theater was a genius marketing move, because it's like, well, if you're not safe to go back, the general movie theater experience, well, why don't you come watch your own movie with us, with the people that you trust and the people that you know. So that's been what they've been trying to do. And I know they've been discounting concessions. They've been doing bargain ticket prices all day. I know my local theater one movie was showing was $5 all day. Some theaters are doing their their normal promotions where if you have a loyalty card on Tuesdays you get free popcorn, all that good stuff. So they're trying everything to get people interested in going back into movie theaters. Not necessarily know if it's working, but there is an effort there. And like we talked about earlier, just getting that message out there that we are a safe environment. CineSafe, it's online. You can go look it up, the programs and the protocols. Every theater in Michigan has adopted this platform. Just getting that message out there to the consumer that it is safe. And also, movie studios have to do their part by releasing movies in theaters. Netflix has actually done a decent job because they've been releasing their movies on streaming and into theaters. I know, well, people will just choose to watch it at home because it's easier, it's cheaper and stuff, but at least they're actually trying to get movies back, people back in the theaters. And Disney has been doing a string of re-releases during the holiday season. They did Hocus Pocus, they just did Santa Claus. I know Elf is coming back in the theaters. The idea, and I don't know about you, but Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is my favorite Christmas movie, as it is a lot of people's, and that is making a resurgence back on the big screen. I know the Capri Drive-In in Coldwater is actually still open. This is the longest they have been open for the season. So there's a lot of things happening throughout the state that people are trying to get folks interested in going back to movie theaters.
Well, because the winter months are such a popular time for people to go to the movies, especially here in the state of Michigan. Absolutely. And all the, northern states.
Christmas Day.
That's what we do. Yes.
It's the biggest movie going day of the year. It makes the most money, hands down. Somebody who used to work at a movie theater, I could attest to this. It was nuts how crazy it was at Christmas time.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if they do, in fact, get to reopen on December 9th.
We'll see. I'm not optimistic about that. I think I guess it just depends, right? We have to see where we are. But I wouldn't hold my breath. Maybe we're open by Christmas. If not, we're looking at next year.
Well, you're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Nate Adams, the film critic, always great having you with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for your insight in the movie industry.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm always an honor to be on.
But thank you. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Still a lot to get to in the second hour, including we'll be speaking with Stacey Renee, our motivational speaker, and how you can help yourself if you're suffering from depression during this season. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call From My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/contain-COVID. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios. Mr. Tyler Keefe, always holding things down for us back in the studios there in West Bloomfield. Tyler?
Yep, I am back in the studios here in West Bloomfield. We're just trying to keep our distance, trying to be efficient during this 3-week pause. And, we're able to do that by having me in the studio, operating the board here and holding down fort here with Jake on site producing the show and getting us prepared for further weeks. And Ronnie doing the holding fort, hosting the show from home.
And just as a reminder for those that may be tuning in for the first time, you can catch Tyler and I 10 a.m. to noon, civiccentertv.com. Also, Birmingham area municipal access. If you have cable still, we want to say thank you, because a part of your feed does go to help support programming such as this. You can catch us on Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. And then, of course, if you are out driving around, or if you still have an old school radio in your home, tune us into 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Beth. Still a lot to get to in the second hour of the Oakland County Megacast. For so many people, this time of year is a hard time for them. Maybe they are struggling with the holidays, but also for a lot of people, they struggle with the lack of sunshine and getting outdoors. They are impacted by what is known as SAD, seasonal affective disorder. To talk a little bit more about how you can snap yourself out of that tunnel vision when you are suffering from a little bit of depression, let's bring in the one and only Miss Stacy Renee. She is our motivational speaker guru here on the Oakland County Megacast. Always so great to have you on the show.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be on your show, and it's a pleasure to always talk to the viewers, talk to you and everyone at the station, and just kind of constantly remind ourselves of how we can shift our mindset, and no matter what situation comes in, we can overcome it.
Well, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, but I do know some of my friends right now, this was a very hard Thanksgiving for them because they felt so isolated. And now we are going in to December and the holiday season as well. It's being extended. For some of the people that are feeling alone right now, what advice do you have for them?
Well, I will tell you, this has been the hardest Thanksgiving I've had to endure thus far. I just lost my mom 2 weeks ago, unexpectedly. And so not only are we in this COVID mode, but, a lot of us are suffering the loss and missing our loved ones because we have time to think about them so much. And I took the situation. I allowed myself to, feel the pain, go through the normal onset of sadness and losing the woman who was the first one that loved me, right? And that's how we feel. But I also realized that she would kick my butt as well as everyone else's if I allowed myself to continuously be down and not be who I am. So whenever I start to get sad, I just embrace the fact that, you know what? I'm here. I love life. I'm going to do as much as I can and, change my mindset and be in control. And here's the thing, Ronnie, is most of us are in a habit of either being positive or negative. And I will tell you, 70% of our thoughts are negative. So if we think about that, think about what goes through your head. If you were to take a pencil and write down every time you had a negative thought, I think that it would blow your mind. And it's something that we really need to think about and be conscious of.
Yeah, and not only if you have a negative thought, but social media can be brutal. And when people, you can have 1,000 positive comments, but one negative one, it's that negative one that tends to stick with you. Why do we do that?
Because it's what we have done to ourselves, because growing up, no, you can't do that. No, you shouldn't do that. No, you're not good enough. And so we have taught ourselves to self-sabotage our own thoughts. And we are always living in the conscious. And what happens is we habitually do things, whether we realize it or not. Just like when you drive to work, we are using our subconscious mind to get to where we are. And you actually live off of, guess what? 90% of your subconscious. So you are in a habit of doing things. So when people have habits of good old coffee, nicotine, whatever it may be, whether it's eating bad foods, we are in that habit because we have created that habit. And how do we get out of that habit? It's repetition. And if you think about it this way, when you were young, what did we do to learn how to read? We had to practice. We had to look up those hard words and we had to read. So now it becomes a natural habit for us to read. With writing your name, the same thing, right? And anytime you want to change something, it's habit. It's not going to come easy. And, and we can have sticky notes. Like I know I've mentioned before, Ronnie, hey, just write, like a great mantra down, put it on your car, put it on your computer. You can have the sticky note, but unless you actually think about it and you say it, it's like the fake it till you make it type thing. You are reprogramming your mind, and you can say, oh, I really don't feel too happy. You know what? I am happy. I am awesome. I am successful. And you may not feel it, but you're telling your subconscious that. And what do we do? What did I say? How much do we run off of our subconscious? Like 90%.
90%. Yep.
It's crazy, but awesome to And I'm telling you, if you can pick up on these simple habits, you will reprogram yourself a lot faster than you really even knew that you could.
Yeah, because how long does it take to break a habit and to create a new habit?
There's so many statistics because, if I want to start eating healthy and I want to break this habit, and I did for about 2 weeks, I'm like, I'm on, and my mind was so focused. But the minute I got off, I was like, nope. Oh, that cookie looks really good. I'm going to have that cookie with my coffee. And I was off of it so fast. So they say anywhere from 21 days, to really form a habit, but it really is in your mindset and how bad you want something. When I'm starting a project, I will tell you, I am hell-bent on getting this awesome, making it the best program. I am so focused. Nothing gets in my way. My husband always knows when I'm focused on something, he's like, I am not going to bother you because it's in my mindset. But if I want to eat healthy, which I've been trying to do, well, I just fell off the wagon. So we really
all
have
start
to program.
with good intentions, right?
Yeah. But a big key to your habit is really finding an accountability partner, accountability friend, buddy. And that's kind of where I step in for myself, is for other people. Is you need that accountability. You need that check in, and knowing that, I do the mindset coaching, is that I keep you pretty darn accountable, and I even sometimes make you check in. And I think that's what we all need to get into that routine, to get into that habit. And if you think that, me working with you for just 1 month is going to, once a week is going to change it, you will make your way to progression. But again, habits are something that you need to get into. For example, this morning I went to work out at 5:30 in the morning, and I had an amazing trainer. And he just kicked my butt. And they're like, how are you so happy? And my workout accountability partner says, sometimes it really can bug you when, she's always so happy and positive. But if I wasn't like that, I wouldn't be rolling out of bed and I wouldn't be getting to the gym, knowing that I had to meet my trainer, who is amazing, because he's keeping me accountable. You see how that goes hand in hand?
Stacy Renee with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. She is a motivational strategy speaker and a mindset life coach, and also the author of the book Positive Shift Ahead. Stacy, where can people get your book, by the way? It's a quick, easy read.
Yes, thank you. It is, and that was very intentional because of the fact that who has time to read, right? So you just pick it up, read real quick, and you can get it on Amazon. It's also a #1 best-selling because when it came out, people were grabbing it, which I am so thankful for all of my friends and family and people that I don't know that have actually used the book and succeeded because of the tips that I have put in, ways for them to change their mind shift.
So we've been so lucky this summer. We had amazing weather here in Southeast Michigan. And I think that really helped so many people transition with COVID. But now we're going into the winter months. We're going to be cooped up in our homes again. I'm worried about some people with the depression setting back in because they don't have the escape of the outdoors.
No, they don't. You can start something new. If you want to exercise, and I don't mean to say this because I am at a fault of this too, but I can tell you when I don't and when my friends don't exercise, we literally feel ourselves going down. If you can just take that time, you don't need anything at home to exercise. You can just, if you have a chair, kitchen chair, do step-ups on the chair. You have gallon waters, take gallon waters and put them in your hands and, do them overhead or do curls. I mean, something is better than nothing. When you're brushing your teeth, all you have to do is sit there and you can stretch your leg, put your leg on the counter until you're done brushing. I mean, there's certain things that we can do to stay active instead of going online, which I'm going to tell you all right now, that is the biggest thing that will destroy and take you down. Social media, as much as we love it, and we're glad to have you watching today, it really will change your personality. It will change how you feel from the inside out, and it will take you down a path that is really hard to recover from. Because as we know, people post things. I'm not going to post every time I have a bad day or something's going on. I like to be positive and I like to post happy things, right? That's what I want to remember. So we see everybody else's posts and everything else that they're doing and that, oh my gosh, how do they achieve that? That's what I want in my life. And so you're constantly comparing yourself to everybody else. And if you're cooped up at home and you're doing that, I will guarantee you're going down a bad path. So you just shut it down. If you want, give yourself some time in the morning, pick certain times, put your alarm on, get off. And again, know who you are, see what you've done and the things that you can accomplish in your own day. Pick up a book, start reading, pick up the Positive Shift book. It'll help you. And that's inspiring. That will get you in the right mindset and get you where you want to be. Send text messages to somebody that you have not talked to. Make it a goal to do that once or twice a day. Call somebody. The communication between picking up the phone and actually having that quality time really is being lost. And when's the last time, Ronnie, that you have actually gotten a handwritten note in the mail just to say hello? And not just a card that says, hey, happy birthday, or just something, but something with meaning. I am telling you, friends, that will blow people's mind. It will make them feel so good. And more importantly, it will make you feel so complete, so good, because giving to others makes you feel mentally healthy.
And with that, Stacy, I liked in your book, it was a Control Alt Delete.
Yes.
Just like we do with our computers, you can do it with your mind.
Yes. And the nice thing is that when I work with you or in the book or, my sessions, is I give you the tools. You can listen to somebody speak and you can be like, wow, that was really great. And you get really on this really exciting high and, you think you're going to do all these things. But if you don't have the tools and the tips that are going to constantly remind you, I offer those because I know I've been through the struggles, you guys. I have been through some really difficult times lately. You wouldn't know it and talking with people, but you know what? I am able to control that because of the Control Alt Delete and shifting and changing that negative to a positive. And if you're out and you see a balloon, right? You see balloons somewhere, it can even be on a card, it can be in a window, it can be actual balloons. Think of something positive all of a sudden. And that's what we need to be triggered. A red light. If you're sitting at a red light, say, you know what? I am awesome, successful, and smart. I succeed at what I put my mind to. Use that time to re-alter and retrain and create new habits for your brain. Use your subconscious. It's a very powerful thing.
Stacey Renee with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. She is a motivational speaker and an author, and we're always grateful to have you here with us on the show. Quickly, Stacey, before we let you go, any other nuggets of wisdom you want to share?
Yes, I will tell you, because of the new year and things that are happening, and with the COVID and a lot of inspiring words from, my clients and friends, I have a program that I have done, and I made sure that it was ready to go by today. It's called Achieve Your Goals by Changing the Way You Think. It's a 6-week mindset shift program. I understand a lot of people are on hardships, the COVID. Why don't you take this time to reinvent your own mind and yourself? It starts January 8th. It's 1 week. It's a Zoom on Fridays from 8:30 to 9:30. There are 6 modules that we will go over, and you also will have a complimentary 15-minute mini session with me as well. And you can either email me at stacy@stacyrenee.com, or you can just go to RSVPing. So the link is changingthewayyoutthink.rsvpify.com. Or just call the station. You guys know how to get a hold of me. But yeah, it's a great program, you guys. And the best part of it is it's generally almost a $7,000 program if you were to take it. And it's only offered to the first 10 people. And I'm only offering it for $997 because I understand that right now we need this. If you need a Christmas gift, this is a great idea, or life coaching. I know I've had a couple of husbands buy it for their wives and one wife buy it for her husband because it really does help. And if you want to change and do things for your future, for yourself, because I'm going to tell you what, you have one life, friends. And if you don't think that it's short, we all have news for you. It is shorter than you think because, as I just found out 2 weeks, it can end just like that. So I'm telling you, the nuggets, the words of wisdom is invest in yourself, value yourself, respect yourself, because if you don't, who's going to? Really, that's the end of the day. You have to love and respect and invest in yourself because no one else is going to do it for you.
Yep. So, be your own best cheerleader.
Yes.
Stacey, our condolences on the loss of your mother.
Thank you.
But always so great to have you with us. And I think that's great for people to give this as a holiday gift because I think one thing we've learned during this pandemic, so many of us, we don't need more stuff.
No.
Our houses are filled with stuff. This is about experiences, and it's a great time to improve your life as well. And this is a great opportunity for people to do that.
Well, thank you for having me on. I wish everybody the most wonderful, positive holiday. You're going to have bumps in the road, but it's how you are going to handle each situation and, be in control of it, because who wants to be bummed out?
None of us. I always say, my niece and nephew, they're always like, we know, the number one thing in life, it's all about perspective.
Yes.
And your perspective shapes your moments. So be wise on your perspective. So always great. Thank you so much, Stacey, for being with us. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks.
Happy day. And we'll be right back here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 help hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
Or blue. But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you with us on the Tuesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dull in my home studio. Mr. Tyler Keefe is holding things down there in the studio in West Bloomfield.
Yes, I am. Ronnie back here in the West Bloomfield studios on a nice busy Tuesday. We're off to a good start here. A nice snowy day also, but it looks nice outside having some snow on the ground now in December, as we should.
So many people in our neighborhood took advantage of the nice weather over the weekend, Tyler, hung all their Christmas lights. It looks great in the neighborhood, but you know who did not hang their lights? We did not.
Oh, no.
I did buy the garland, but it's piled up on the porch. It's going to be, I think, a cold day of hanging all the holiday lights and the decorations outside. But I will say, I think the snow adds to it. I like the twinkle on the lights, and it does appear as if we have so many more people in the neighborhood taking part in hanging up the holiday decorations this year. And I think it's because everyone needs a little holiday spirit. I mean, 8+ months into COVID, we need something to celebrate.
Yeah, we do. And, the holiday spirit certainly makes a lot of people happy. And right now, more importantly, maybe than ever, trying to find those little things in life that make you happy are so vital as we continue to have so many other things to struggle with and be stressed about with COVID-19 and daily life as a result of the pandemic ongoing.
Well, the good thing is they are definitely moving forward on the vaccine. We are hearing so many positive things about the vaccine, the distribution. It looks like we are possibly only a couple weeks away from them actually getting the Pfizer vaccine out into the public for the first round, although there is still a long road ahead of us to actually getting the vaccine distributed on a wide scale level. And to talk a little bit more about that and so many other things happening with COVID-19 and with our elected leaders, we want to go ahead and bring in Andy Levin. He's the U.S. Representative for Michigan's 9th Congressional District. Great to have you with us again here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Hey, it's great to be with you.
So many things that we want to talk about. we'll get to the vaccine and COVID-19 and the relief in just a minute, but we have to start off by talking about the election. We're, 3 weeks post-election, but it's still making news, obviously, here in the state of Michigan with President Trump and all the lawsuits.
Lawsuits, and they all have failed and will fail because Michigan ran an election that we can all be really proud of. In my district, all of the Republican and Democratic local clerks, I've talked to them. They all did a great job. This is not normally something that's at all partisan. It's sort of like, I play beer league hockey. I mean, some weeks we win, some we lose, but we go down the line and shake hands, even if you lost like 7-0 or if you won 2-1, you accept the results. And that's been foundational for our democracy. So it was a clean election. It wasn't close in Michigan. And so that's the deal. Let's move on.
Do you think we'll ever see another election quite like this one? Because on top of the candidates involved, we also put on an election in the middle of a pandemic.
In the middle of a pandemic. I mean, I think in some ways we will, because we were poised to move in the direction of a lot more people voting at home anyway, because we had just passed the Promote the Vote referendum in 2018, we the voters of Michigan. So now everybody can vote for absentee for no reason. It's a lot easier to register. College students can vote right at school if they want to. People can walk in to their clerk on election day who never voted before and say, gee, I want to register and vote, and they can do it on the spot. So there's a lot of improvements to our democracy that we made here in Michigan that we can be really proud of. But you are so right. It was incredible. And the idea that we pulled off an election in the middle of a pandemic with everybody, record turnout, everybody having their voice heard, it's a real tribute to our local clerks. And think of all the citizens, right, who just help out. They may get paid a little bit of money, but, a lot of people who every election, they go in there. This time they did it at risk of their own health. I went to, 10 or 12 different polling locations, and I was so inspired. When you attack the integrity of our election, you're attacking these regular folks, right, who just go out there and help out in the school gym or the church or whatever it is, right? It's a wonderful American thing that we do. We ought to be really proud of it. That's my view.
Yeah, I have family members that volunteer at the polls every single year. It's an educational process, but also a great way to give back to our democracy. And of course, now with the outcome, the Biden transition is starting to take place. Your name is obviously being tossed around as a potential to join the Biden team. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's just an incredible honor to have your name bandied about like that. I have, it's up to President-elect Biden to pick his cabinet. I have my assumption is that I'll be serving in the 117th Congress. I'm getting ready for it. We are working super hard to organize it. I'm still working to drop a few bills in the 116th Congress in these last couple of weeks, because they have a lot more momentum in the next Congress if they've already been introduced. We're having our organizing meetings for the 117th Congress, picking our leadership. So I'm fully looking ahead to the honor and wonder, really, of representing the people of Michigan's 9th District in the 117th Congress. And, that's what I have to assume will happen. But it's an honor to be mentioned anyway.
So if you are offered the position being tossed around as Secretary of Labor, would you take that position or would you stay where you are?
I don't think it's helpful to think about like hypotheticals. I certainly would take it super seriously and consider it seriously. Can you imagine a president like Biden offering you a job like that? I can't even imagine it quite. And I will say this, Ronnie, wherever I am, in Congress or in the Labor Department, I mean, it's clear what my life's mission has been, to raise up the voice and power of working people in our country. Since I was a college student advocating for the striking workers of the cap and gown manufacturer my college used, which is many years ago, through many years of directly helping workers form unions with SEIU. I was the staff attorney for President Clinton's Labor Law Reform Commission. I was the president of the Harvard Labor Law Project when I was in law school. For 11 years, I was the assistant director of organizing at the National AFL-CIO. I served, how did I serve Governor Granholm? As her chief workforce officer, and in helping Michigan workers who were underemployed or unemployed go back to school to get certificates and degrees, leading to in-demand jobs during the auto implosion and the Great Recession. So this has really been my life, and I'm going to keep doing it, raising the standard of living for working people. That's my mission wherever I am. And my guess is it'll be in Congress, but who knows?
Well, with that, we do have so many families struggling right now. A lot of them right here in Michigan. With the restaurants being paused, the movie theaters, the ice skating rinks, but yet there's no federal help like the first round. What do you want those people that are struggling to pay their bills to know right now about what you and the other elected leaders are doing to help us survive the pandemic?
Isn't that just it's almost criminal. I mean, it's just such a shame. In the House, we passed what we called the HEROES Act on May 15th. And then when the Senate said that was too big for them, we cut it by 50% and passed it again on October 1st. And so we're still ready to negotiate. The Senate hasn't passed anything. So it's not as if we passed one thing and then they passed something different and, we couldn't agree in a conference committee. They still haven't passed anything. So, in our updated bill, we restored unemployment benefits, the $600 a week, the broader coverage. We passed another round of direct payments for every taxpayer, every family, $1,200 per adult and $500 for a dependent. We passed $436 billion for assistance to state and local and territorial and tribal governments. We had $75 billion for COVID testing and contact tracing, including a lot of language from my Coronavirus Containment Corps Act, basically a bill to stand up a national contact tracing workforce. We passed in there a requirement that OSHA stand up enforceable standards for our grocery workers and our food, our food processing workers, our hospital and nursing home workers. It goes on, and the Senate still hasn't acted. I'm going back to Washington on Wednesday, and I would like to stay there until the Senate agrees to something. The people can't wait any longer. If you're a renter, if you're a homeowner, if you're a restaurant owner, if you own something like the Magic Bag or one of the other local venues, what on earth are you supposed to do with the federal government refusing to help? We need to get in there and rush assistance to the American people. And I hope the Senate will get in the game. I know President-elect Biden's team is ready to help out. Secretary Mnuchin, was a good negotiator with Speaker Pelosi for a while there in the spring. So hopefully we can get something done. It'd be a good Christmas present for America, that's for sure.
Definitely. And is there a possibility that a compromise can be made to try to get some of this stuff done?
Absolutely. I don't see why not. I honestly don't. I mean, after all, as you pointed out, we passed 4 bills in March and April, basically, February, March, April, that were bipartisan. They passed the House and the Senate, and they gave relief. The most famous one, and by far the biggest, was the CARES Act that had the bulk of the relief. But there's just no reason why we shouldn't do that again. I mean, after we passed the CARES Act, Senate Majority Leader McConnell said, well, now we want to take a pause. We don't believe anything more is necessary. By now, isn't it obvious that we need to do something? The virus is raging out of control. It's causing a lot more people to be unemployed and to possibly lose their businesses. We need to help people right now. So I hope we can reach a compromise. Really do.
Yeah, because as you just mentioned, the numbers are spiking. They're surging here in the state of Michigan, across the country, but a vaccine is also on the horizon. Are you aware of any talks being made on the federal level about the distribution of a vaccine when it's approved and when it becomes available?
Oh, absolutely. There's actually a body of scientists who are tasked with deciding how to distribute the vaccine. Clearly hospital and other healthcare workers would be first, first responders, ambulance, police, fire, that kind of thing. There's, nursing home residents, people who work in prisons. I mean, obviously people who are in prisons are forced to be very close together and eat together. So there are many considerations about who would be first. And then after the workers, then you've got the people most at risk, like older people or people with immunocompromising conditions and so forth. But I think the thing that is most important is this: it's going to be 6 or 9 months before everybody can get vaccinated under the best of circumstances. Next spring, maybe well into the summer. And so we are in for a rough winter here, and we all need to do our part. Even if everybody, let's say we found out like by some magic act, and remember that you have to get 2 rounds of vaccine, but even let's assume everybody got a first and a second round all at the same moment in, April or something. Well, what on earth are we going to do to protect ourselves in the meantime? I mean, we had over 4 million cases in November in the United States. That's almost 30% of all cases were just this month. Deaths are up 26% over the last 2 weeks. Hospitalizations are up 36%. We're likely to have 200,000 more people dying here in over the next months unless we all wear masks, maintain social distance, wash our hands, all the basic things that the public health experts are telling us we need to do. So I am very optimistic about vaccines. I'm so proud as an American that our, companies and other companies elsewhere are zooming ahead with this, but we need to all take care of each other until that happens.
Yeah, it's been a great collaboration amongst the drug companies and the scientists to come together worldwide to actually come up with the vaccine. Andy Levin with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the U.S. representative for Michigan's 9th Congressional District. Just another minute here with you. Anything that you want the public to know that maybe we didn't touch on here today?
Well, I just want to emphasize to everybody that we see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we need to get from here to there. I don't want to lose tens of thousands of more Americans, thousands of more Michiganders, unnecessarily before we have a vaccine. So I just think that's the single most important thing we can all do right now is take care of each other. And it's a really sad thing. And I think we have to admit that. If we didn't have Thanksgiving, I didn't have 20 people at my house for Thanksgiving, like we normally do. We had 5. But we had so many creative Zooms with our nieces and nephews and, all the silly things. We made a lot of new silly traditions of, doing fun things together. So we need to, in a spirit of unity and sort of that kind of can-do American spirit, not let this be politicized. Instead, accept science, follow it, and know that we will get to the other side of this within really just a small number of months. So we can do this, Michigan. We can do this, Oakland County. But it's really important for us to come together over these last months before the virus is controlled, because most people have been vaccinated.
U.S. Representative Andy Levin with us on the Oakland County Megacast. He is from Michigan's 9th Congressional District, joining us on the show today. And Representative Levin, just before you go, you talked about some of the things that you've been working on in Congress and will be as you go back into Washington, D.C. One of those things is the passage of a reauthorization of the National Apprenticeship Act. If you wouldn't mind giving some introduction to that for those that maybe aren't familiar with it, and what a reauthorization of this act may do for the people of the U.S. and people of Michigan.
Absolutely. Well, this is a kind of an amazing thing that I didn't even know, but our apprenticeship law was passed as part of the New Deal in 1937, and it's never been reauthorized. So it's just sort of sat there without being updated for more modern times. And this bill is terrific. We passed it through the House. It would expand access to registered apprenticeships, youth apprenticeships, something that's really important to me, pre-apprenticeships. So in other words, how do you get young people ready to pass the tests and get into an apprenticeship, to be a carpenter or a bricklayer or an electrician or an operating engineer, or apprenticeships in new areas like cuisine and so forth. It includes $10.5 billion of benefits to U.S. taxpayers in the form of increased tax revenue and decreasing spending on public assistance and unemployment insurance, because more people will have jobs and be well paid. The details about apprenticeships is really amazing. Apprentices earn an average starting wage above $70,000 a year. And 94% of people who complete an apprenticeship, a registered apprenticeship, get a job in their field. So it's really probably our hidden gem of workforce programs. And this bill will expand it to new fields, let a lot more Americans earn while they learn. Basically, an apprenticeship says, look, you're going to become a master at a certain craft. We're going to pay you while you learn it. You'll combine schooling and work right from the beginning and get paid the whole time, so that at the end of the apprenticeship, you will be the best trained person in that field, and you'll have a whole career ahead of you. And that's worked in the building trades, the most famous area, for 100 years. And now we want to expand it because it's such a great way for people to get good jobs. It shows that as much as we want a lot more people to go to college, which is a wonderful thing, there are also other great avenues to have a good paying job with good benefits and a secure retirement, and that is through apprenticeship. So I'm really bullish on this, and I really think that President-elect Biden will be all about it and will expand apprenticeships greatly during his time as president.
Well, that's a great program. We know so many industries right now and so many companies that are looking for skilled workers. So the two go hand in hand. Andy Levin, thank you so much for your time here on the Oakland County Megacast.
It's great to be with you always. Love the show, and take care of yourselves.
You too, and happy holidays. We're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, we'll be speaking with Elizabeth Atkins. She is Two Sisters Writing and Publishing. A lot to talk about still here on the Oakland County Megacast.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
Or blue. But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19: wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
just about 10 minutes left with us here on the Tuesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. For so many people, they feel like they have a book inside of them. COVID-19 and this crisis has given us a lot of extra time, but how do you take that thought and actually make it a reality? If you've ever dreamed of actually writing that book, joining us now on the Oakland County Megacast, Elizabeth Atkins. She is part of the Two Sisters Writing and Publishing Group here in the Metro Detroit area. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being with us.
I'm thrilled to be here, Ronnie. Thank you.
So you obviously do this business with your sister.
Yes.
How is that working with a family member?
Well, she and I are a year apart. We both have a passion for writing and publishing, so we have a ball together. Sometimes our mother calls us two sisters writing and bickering, but but it's all in fun and we get a lot done. We just published our 27th book and we're so proud of it. It's on Amazon right now, and our author, Mort Meisner, is going to be on Extra, the TV show, next week. So really good things are happening.
How do you pick and choose which books you're going to help get published?
We're very selective and we mostly focus on inspirational books or memoirs that celebrate the legacies of very accomplished people, such as former Detroit Mayor Dennis Archer. I wrote this with him, and obviously he has an amazing story that is 400 pages long because of his tremendous accomplishments in helping our city so much. And then here's a smaller book by a physician who dropped dead of cardiac arrest. It's a much smaller book, but he lived to tell about it and create a legacy of kindness. So we are very selective because we all only do inspiration. So if somebody came to us and said they wanted to do some kind of like mafia expose, well, that's just not the kind of book that we do. Or if they want to do a story about some unsolved crime that they were a participant in or, know about, that's just not what we do. So there's plenty of publishers, or horror. Some people come to us and say, I have a horror novel. No, we don't do that. Sorry. We like to uplift and inspire people, and especially show against the odds success stories, especially those involving diversity and inclusion.
And with that, we're in the middle of a crisis, but yet so many people actually have a lot more time than they did prior to COVID-19. Yeah. If someone has thought about writing a book, it's somewhere in them, but they don't know how to get started. Mm-hmm. What's your advice?
I say if you've been overwhelmed, confused, and just don't know where to start, or if you procrastinate, you need a book coach. And I'm a book coach, and this person, Elaine Mackis, PhD, is an example of someone who started my book coaching program in January, wrote the book based on all the things I taught about: how to structure your book, how to schedule your time, how to have a strategy for writing and publishing. And voila, her hardcover and paperback are on Amazon right now. So you need help. Just like if you want to get fit, you need a personal trainer at the gym. And so I'm offering a special for the holidays with Two Sisters Writing and Publishing. I call it my hashtag Write the Change, because it's play on Mahatma Gandhi's sentence, write the change. Be the change you wish to see in the world. A lot of people are being the change, and now is the time to write the change. My other favorite hashtag is quarantine and write. Instead of Netflix and chill, quarantine and write. Like you're home, you're being safe, you have time, you're not commuting anymore, or whatever your circumstance. Writing, in addition, immersing into your imagination or your material for your book, Ronnie, is such a tremendous escape or retreat from all the horrific things we're reading about in the newspaper. So why not immerse into that and just rock it and come out of this pandemic with a book? And in the meantime, your book, if you're a business owner or if you're a coach, your book can serve as a tool, a new stream of income that you can use in an online course, a virtual retreat. It's just a win-win for everybody. So I highly recommend that you write your book now, and I can help you.
How has the industry changed? Because now you have so many online avenues, such as Amazon. You can self-publish through Amazon. So has that changed the publishing world?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a tremendous disruption, and that's what has enabled me and Catherine, my sister, to start our company 5 years ago this February. We've since published 27 books, and my next book, Boss Up Goddess, Start Living Your Effing Potential, is going to be our 28th book. Big, bold.
I love that title. That's a great title.
Hello, we're going to have a female vice president in a month or two. And it's the time for women to boss up. And my message has been brewing for many years since my divorce. And I just found my voice, and it has to be loud. It has to be powerful. And I'm a teacher to other women to do that as well. So that's on our website, twosisterswriting.com, if you want to learn more about my book, Boss Up Goddess. I also started a YouTube show called Boss Up Goddess, where I interview trailblazing women who share their wisdom to help us all live bigger, better, and bolder. But to answer your question, the disruption in the publishing industry because of technology has enabled any person to publish a book on Amazon right now and sell it around the world and make unlimited amounts of money and have a positive impact on people everywhere. So we started our company. We use an online publishing platform called Ingram Spark, which is part of one of the biggest book distributors in the world. And our books go on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and 39,000 retailers around the world. In fact, when Mayor Archer's book came out, we started getting emails in Japanese and Spanish and Portuguese because the book was being published on retail sites or sold on retail sites on different continents. And so that was really exciting. The impact you can have is so powerful. Another thing, Ronnie, is that... Huh?
Oh, no, I was going to say, so actually it's made it easier for people to follow through on their dream and make this a reality.
Absolutely. There is no excuse. And that's why a coach is so helpful, because it helps you be accountable. It gives you the structure, the framework, the strategy, the schedule that you need, that you've been lacking. And when it gets overwhelming and confusing and you just sit there and nothing comes when you try to write, people stop, they procrastinate, they put it off, and then here we come, a whole new year is coming. Oh, I haven't written my book yet. It's time to boss up and do it. Just do it. And it's not as hard as you think. In fact, Dr. Mackus wrote her book in like a few months because it's about her father's experience in World War II, and it's so beautifully done. You can just sit down and do it, and I can help. It's really, I have written 35 books. So I have so much experience, expertise, enthusiasm, and excitement about it. I just love it. And I teach people all over the country how to write a book.
So I wonder, because it seems like people have gotten away from going to the bookstores. They were struggling prior to this pandemic. Do you think it's going to make a comeback, or is it just change because now you can get something like, through iBooks? But I miss that browsing. I feel like you discover new authors and new stories when you browse the aisles of a bookstore.
Yes, absolutely. Just wear a mask and go in and do it. That's what I do. It's so delightful. And sadly, we have so few choices now in terms of how many bookstores we can go to. But, books, and you know what, during the pandemic, more people are reading because we have more time. And again, it's an escape. When you crack open a book and you dive into somebody's story, you are able to just get away from all the headlines and the news and the fears and the anxiety and just really immerse in a great story that can inspire you and change you. In addition, the pandemic is causing so many people to have revelations about life. And as Congressman Levin just explained, death is all around us, sadly, and it tells us you have to live your life to the max right now because nothing is guaranteed. So if your dream is to write a book, now is the time to do it.
Don't hesitate, do it now.
Yes. And Ronnie, I always like to think the Spanish flu pandemic, right, 100 years ago, ended. It did end, okay? People survived, and guess what they did after? The Roaring 20s. So when we start roaring into the Roaring 2020s, why don't you have a book in your hand so you can absolutely boss up to the world and show everybody how brilliant you are?
So quickly before we let you go, just about a minute in the show, can people actually make money off of their book, or is this a saturated industry with so many more people now writing books?
Mm-hmm. That's a really great question. I personally think that you measure the success of a book by the fact that you first did it because so many people don't do it. But secondly, yes, you can make money at it. The key to that is to build a following. So if you have a following of people that you teach, people that follow you on your social media, people that are part of your network, then yes, you can sell a lot of books. One of our authors is a speaker, and every time he speaks, hundreds of books get sold because he's got that following and that built-in audience. So that's really key. So another important part of writing a book is building your following, your audience, so that when the book is ready, they're going to buy it.
Well, it's always great having you with us. This is the first time we've had you on the show. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your tips. Anyone out there thinking about writing a book, now is the time to do it. Elizabeth, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Ronnie. People can find me at twosisterswriting.com.
Great. Thank you so much. Tyler and I are going to wrap up today's show, but we will be back Wednesday morning at 10 a.m.